morning, everyone. Myself, Satiraj, and myself, along with Ansima, we will be handling DBMS Lab with mini project. And I hope today is the first class for you. I mean, today is the first lab session for you, DBMS Lab. So, in today's session, we will be talking about what is meant by DBMS and what are the things that we will be doing with DBMS lab as well as mini project. And we are also will talk on the softwares that are required for SQL. At the end, we shall be having a small simple examples on DBMS. I mean the simple examples on SQL queries. So the subject code, the course code for this lab is 18CSL58, and it is named as a DBMS lab with mini project. So it has two parts, right? One is a DBMS lab, and the other one is mini project, and that is called as Part A, Part B. Part A SQL programming for 50 marks. So there you will be doing some SQL queries, like queries to create a table, and queries to do some operations with the table. And that is Part A, and Part B mini project, where you will be where you along with your teammates or classmates will be formed as a batch of 2 to 3 members, and you want to do a project like some database projects like rail trans ticket management system or library maintenance system. Like those sort of projects will be given for you. So we should be doing these kind of projects. Okay, so part A is for 50 marks and part B is for 30 marks. And whenever we talk about a project, so the project has three things. One is front end, back end, and the database connectivity. So front end, we used to design the front end using the recent technologies like React, or you can go with the Java Swing Builder, or you can go with Visual Basic. It can be of any tool. And the backend, we used to code the it using the programming languages like C, C++, Java, Python, and we need some kind of database connectivity. So whatever the data that we operate, we need some kind of data set to store. Okay, and that is where ODBC, so Open Database Connectivity or Java Database Connectivity, and it is a database connectivity which connects with the database. Okay, and here I just will be telling you a small example. You can take our college or institute ERP, Acharya ERP. So where if you go to student module, you can see once if you input your AUID, you can get the complete information about related to that AUID. I mean name, user number, contact details, parent details, address, fee details, and everything will be made available. So this ERP system holds the entire database, entire the data of the Acharya students, right? So this system holds the entire data, entire information about the students of our institute. So this is called database. Okay, so this is called database, and whatever the way that you will be going fetching your data, right? For that, the system will be talking to the database. For that, this user interface, the UI interface layer that will be communicating to the database in terms of query. It will be a query will be passed. That query will fetch you the result. Okay, so that query will fetch you the result. And to communicate, to interact with our databases, we use query-based languages. And we shall be shortly talking in depth about these sort of things. And small introduction to database. As I told, a database is an organized collection of data. So what is mean by organized collection of data? So when I call something a data, when I talk about a data, so data is a piece of information. So data is a piece of information which is stored in a database. So database is a collection of information, collection of data, a collection of valid data. Okay. So the purpose of database is to provide the information in an accessible manner where a user can store, retrieve, define, and manage data in a database. And the software that we use to access all these things to do these queries is called SQL. So which is used to store, manipulate, and retrieve data from databases. Okay. And now let me tell you the meaning of structured query language SQL. In this SQL, the term structured, what does mean by structure? So whenever we talk about a database or a data, it can be a data can be of unstructured or a data can be of unstructured. Right? So a data can be of a structured or a data can be of unstructured. So what is mean by structured data? And that is the next thing. So what is mean by structured data? So structured data. So whatever the data that we get from SQL, I mean SQL is called structured data. Or let me take this example. I just want to create a table to hold information about your section. Okay. In this case, my table will hold columns. Like my table will have column like name, AUID, user number, email, mobile number. So this is how my table will be. This is how my table will look like. Okay. And in name, I know what kind of what type of data it is going to hold, and that is will be character. So AUID user number again it is going to be character. And I can have one more thing called age. So that is going to hold a data of the type integer. Okay. And structured data, I mean to say structured data, we in structured data we will be knowing what sort of data or what kind of data my database is going to get. It will be having a clear defined schema that is called structured database. I mean structured data. When I talk about unstructured data, when I talk about unstructured data, my I don't know what kind of data I'm going to get, or I can say it is a clearly which will not be having a clear information. For example, the data that we get from database sources like from online databases or like from social medias like WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter. All these are examples for unstructured data. I mean to say, so if I talk about WhatsApp, I can get that which is called data. A data can be an audio, a data can be a video, or a data can be an image, or a data can be a simple text. It can be of anything. That is called unstructured. that will not be having a clear, properly defined schema. So I will not be having a clear, defined type of the data. Okay. To be simple, it is like unlabeled. That is called unstructured data. And we use SQL only to process this structured data. SQL will not be suitable for unstructured data. Okay, so we use the structured query language to query only with a structured database or structured data table, and we will not be using SQL for unstructured data. And to process the unstructured data, we use big data, and we use NoSQL, we use MongoDB. So all these are meant for handling unstructured data. Okay, so that we shall be discussing at a later period of time about unstructured data, and what are the tools, or what are the programming, what are the query languages that shall be used for this unstructured data. So those we shall talk later. Now we will be looking into only one thing called SQL, unstructured query language. Okay, and example for structured query language is ERP, our database system ERP, and it works only based on SQL. And the example for unstructured data is if you go to Google and browse something, as a result, you can see for your query, you will be getting, you can see the result will be in the form of image, text, table, or it can be a combination of anything. Okay, so that is the difference between structured data and structured data. Okay, so this is in short about database, database management system, SQL. And now let's talk about SQL. Okay, so SQL stands for Structured Query Language. That is the meaning of Structured Query Language. Okay, which queries with the system, which queries with the database. So SQL can execute queries against a database. SQL can retrieve the data from a database. So whenever I talk about a data, I will be talking about few things: a database, a table. And first here, so when you want to do something with the database table, first you need to have database. Then you can talk about a table. Okay. So without database, there is no data tables. I mean, we represent the data in terms of tables like columns and rows with the relation that connects them. Okay, so we use a relational database management system, which is called as RDBMS. So here tables can or represented or is used in the form of a relation, is used in the form of a relation, that is relational database management system. And here we use SQL to process or to interact with our database. So first we need a database on which you can talk about the table. Okay. Before creating a table, first you should create a database. Once you have created a database, then you can create a table. Then it will be easy for you to interact with the database. Okay. So these are the few things that SQL can do. SQL can execute your queries against a database. SQL can retrieve data from a database. I mean to say, where it can fetch the data from a database in an efficient manner. And SQL can insert records, insert items, insert values into a database. SQL can update, delete, and as I said, create new databases, create new tables, and also we can create stored procedures in a database. So SQL can create views in a database. Regarding this views, what are the different views that SQL shall process? That we shall discuss along with the theory and lab part parallelly. So SQL can give permissions on tables, procedures, and views. So among these queries, so you can categorize this into among these queries, we can categorize this into three common types. I mean to say SQL commands, the commands that we use to query with SQL, query with the database. That SQL commands can be categorized into three types. One is called DDL, data definition language, and second one is called DML, data manipulation language, and third one is called DCL, data control language. So first DDL, data definition language, right? So what is mean by definition? A definition is something creating, right? So definition is something creating. So creating a table, defining. So definition is creating a table, defining. I'm going to define the data. I'm going to define my data. So data definition, where I'm going to define my data, right? Define my data means I'm going to create a data. I'm going to create a database. That is data definition language. And the queries that we use to define the data, the queries that we use to define the database, the queries that we use to define the table, all these queries will be resulting under, all these commands will be resulting under, or which shall be categorized under data definition language, DDL. Okay, the commands if we use to define the database, all those commands will be categorized under DDL, data definition language. And second one, DML, data manipulation language, right? So data manipulation language, the command that we use to manipulate the data, the command that we use to update, the command that we use to modify the data in the database. Those commands will be coming under data manipulation language, that is DML. And third, data control language. Control language is like when I talk about control, I should have certain privileges which should it should be like admin, or how I'm going to control with my data, control with the database with the privileges. All those things will be talking under this DCL, data control language. Okay, so SQL commands can be broadly categorized into three different types. One is DDL, DML, DCL. Okay, so this is in short about SQL commands. And now let's talk about something called RDBMS. So Relational Database Management System. So as I said in DBMS, we use the term called table that is used to store data. And the table is a collection of related data entries where that is being stored in column and row. And here the table, each and every table is split into something called field. Field is just like a name of a column. Field is a column in the table which stores specific record. And the example that we have taken is like creating a database table for a student information, that is called student information database. So which holds name, user number, AUID. So these are called as fields, columns in a table. And record is something called a row, the value that you insert against this field, against this column name, that is called record. Okay, So a column is a vertical entity and that contains the information associated with the specific field in a table. Okay. Let's talk with an example about this concept so that it will be a better understandable manner. Okay, I will move for the next one. SQL. And the keywords that we use in SQL are not case sensitive. I mean, to create a database, we should use a keyword called create database. So that create database is a command which is used to define, right? Which is used to create. So that will be under the cat and that will be coming under data definition language DDL. So SQL keywords are not case sensitive, mean those commands can be used in lowercase or can also be used in uppercase. And it is it should be ensured that the SQL statement command should always ends with semicolon at the end, so that it tells to the system that where you have reached the statement has reached its end. Okay, so semicolon is the standard way to separate each SQL statement in database systems, like how we process in C programs. At the end, you will be having a semicolon at the end to tell to the it instructs the compiler that the statement is getting completing. Similarly, we use in SQL. So these are the some few most important commands that we use in the database. Okay, so that we use with SQL. Select, which is used to extract the information from the database. Suppose I want my table has some five some five, let it be some five column and five rows. Okay, or let it be some three columns with 10 rows. If I want to fetch the complete table, I can select the complete table. In this specifically, if I want only 2 to 3 field of data, or I want only 2 to 3 record, I don't want the other thing, then I can select the specific thing that is required, like 2 to 3 field, 2 to 3 value, 2 to 3 data. Okay, that is where select is used. Select works. So select a star from means that select works like this. So select will help you to select the portion of the database that you are in need, or it you can also retrieve. You can also get the complete database. You can also get the complete database as a result. And second one, update. Update is used to update the data in a database, and for this we use update. Okay, delete, to delete the data from the database. Insert into, once we create a table, first I need to create a table. Once I create a table, then I can insert the value into my database table. As I said, we're talking about the same example or ERP application. Like I need to hold name, AUID, USN number. First, I need to create a table and telling that what is my table name. Let my table name be student. And I should also tell when I create a table, I should tell how many number of columns that I'm going to have in my database. So the column one, let it be name, that is what field, and the column two, let it be USN, and the column three, let it be AUID, column four, let it be EH, column five, let it be date of birth. So all these five columns. And once it is done, I mean once the table is created. So while creating, I should give the table name, and I should tell what are the columns that I'm going to have in my database, and also I should specify the type of the data that each column is going to hold. For example, if I specify the age column as integer, that is the type of data which is going to get integer. This column, this field will hold only integer data. This will not hold some other kind of data. So it is not possible for a field or a column. For example, let me say there is one column which is having five data. All the five data should be of same type. Either it should be of integer or character. Combinations is not allowed. Okay, you can't have two for age in terms of character and two value in terms of integer. That is not allowed. So whatever the type of the data that you have specified, that should hold the same type of data. That should hold the same type of information. Okay, that should hold the same type of information. Right? Is it clear? So when I have a column that when my column holds a set of data, when my column holds a set of data, if I get that particular data, if my column holds a set of data, all the data should be of same type. For example, I have taken a table name, USN, AUID. Name is a field which can hold character, okay, which can hold character string, and the age which can hold integer. That is possible. The different the different columns in a table can have different data types, but the values within the single field should be of same type. Okay, and once after creating a table, I can insert values into my table. So insert into table name. We will be passing the table name. We will be passing the values into table. Create database. Alter database. Again, it's modifying. And once when we start working with the queries, so then you will be getting in-depth knowledge about these commands that whatever that we discussed now, like create table, alter, drop, create index, drop index. So before creating a data table, before creating a table, you should create database. So this is the command used to create database. Create database. So create database. This is the keyword. So this keyword can also be in like a lowercase and can also be uppercase. It can be of both. Either it can be in it can be used in this keyword can be used in lowercase or this keyword shall be used in uppercase. Create a database. This statement is a database name. So create a database and you should have the database name. Create database name. So here is an example. Create a database. Create a database test DB. So create a database is the keyword that is used to create a database in SQL. Test DB is the name of the database that we are creating. Okay. So test DB is the name of the database that we use it to create. So create database test DB. And next SQL create table. Once we are done with creating a database, then we should create a table. As I said, when we create a table, you should also specify the columns that we use in a table. So how many number of columns that we going to hold, how many number of columns that we are creating in our table, that should be specified. So SQL create table and SQL create table name. So this is create table is the keyword followed by table name. So table name can be let it be like employee or student, and column one. It is name of the column one. I mean name given for field column one. and data type. So what type of data it is going to hold? Int, float, character. What is that? Okay, string column 2 data type, column 3 data type, column 4 data type. So it's up to. So the column parameter specifies the name of the columns of the table, and this data type parameter specifies what type of data that this column can hold, like a var character, integer, date. And when you talk about this, what type of data it is going to hold, there are mostly three types of data that are called string, numeric, date, and time. Okay, so this can be of three major types. One is string, second numeric, and third date and time. String data we represent using character size. So we have two things where if you are like known with the number of strings, I mean a predefined, or you know how many what is the length of a string. So if the length of the string is not going to vary, like we can use fixed character. Okay, and if for example, let me take name as a name of the column. I'm sorry, let me take the field name where I'm going to hold student names. So this I can't alt with the fixed size, right? Where each and every names will be having a different set of length of a string. The length will be different. So where in that case I will be using var character. So var size. Okay. And second one is integer data. I mean numeric. You call integer, right? So integer and float. And we are use the same thing again, integer, and we used to have like a signed range and unsigned range. So those things we shall talk when you start working with database. And the third type is year, month, and date. And the supported range is from like this. You can see this and this. So these are few example of data types. And now let us talk about software. What are the software that we require to do, and how can we access those softwares? So you can go for MySQL to do certain programs. You can use MySQL, or you can use SQL plus, or you can use Oracle, or you can use IBM DB2, or you can use MySQL community, or you can use SQL server. Okay, so these are I have named here few softwares: MySQL, SQL plus, Oracle, IBM DB2, MySQL Community, SQL Server. So these softwares shall be used to query. I mean to interact with the database, where you can define a query and we can communicate with the database. Okay. And the next, I'll be telling you like how to download this MySQL and how to start working with database queries. So that will be our next task. So it will be good if we have systems. Once, if you have systems, or if you have laptops with you, once after this session, or parallelly, you can start downloading and installing SQL on your systems. Okay. So after this installation, after this example, we will be giving you a demo on a first exercise, and next to that, we will be asking you to create SQL program on your own. You need to create a SQL program, and you need to share us the screenshot, or you need to share us the snapshot of the same through Google Classroom. So we will provide you a code for Google to access Google Classroom the earliest and the chart. So in the meanwhile, you start doing your programs and get saved it, and you should share as our image. You should share the image or screenshot of the database query that you use to work. Okay, so let's move for installation part. Okay, so go to Google. I'll be just showing with the open source of this. Go to Google and download MySQL for Windows 10. So based on your operating OS requirements, you can go further. So once you get this, you can see download MySQL installer. This one, download MySQL installer, or you can go with MySQL on Windows. Okay, this two I prefer, and there are few more things. Okay, as of now, let's stick on this. One is dev.mysql download. Second one is MySQL, and once if you click this, right? So you can see Windows 6 86 32-bit MSI installer. If you once start click this, you will get MySQL community. So in this MySQL community, once if you start clicking download, you can see I have installed SQL already in my laptop. So it will not be get reinstalling again, but I'll just show you one example. So once if you start downloading this MySQL installer, this is a community, right? So you can see MySQL community. Once if you start finishing this in MySQL installer, so then after you will be getting a screen icon as like a MySQL community. There you need to select what kind of SQL you want, which version you want to go, like 8.8.0 or 8.7 or 8.6. You can go with higher versions. Okay, so you can go with higher version that what you want to install in your machine. So this is one way of getting downloading MySQL from Google. Internet is just open source, and the other one I told you like MySQL. Since it is already installed on my laptop, it's getting a little bit late. Okay, let it get open. And this both are listed the same. It is MySQL installer and it is community server. And next I will go with MySQL Windows. So MySQL on Windows, I can go with MySQL for Windows and this part download. Okay, so here you need to start downloading MySQL installer for Windows. These things you need not to download. Okay, and if required, you can go for this MySQL Workbench. You can go for this using MySQL Workbench. Okay, so this is one software, and if required, and this is just loading. Let me check to it. Opening. Okay, and the other one I can also do with download. Okay, now it's opening. Okay, so you will get like this MySQL installer 1.4 and Oracle. Okay, so Oracle also just works with database Oracle DB. So once it is done with installed packages, okay, since I've already installed, we're getting this. So click next to proceed. Since I already installed this, you'll be getting MySQL Workbench. But when you are not installed it, if you are installing for the first time, you will be getting here what is the tool or which version of SQL you want to get it installed. You can go with the same version. I have installed 8.0.21. So you can also go with the same version. So it depends on your 32 or 64 bit. You can select and just nothing. It will not ask you for any credentials like any username or password. It will not ask you anything. Just it will ask you to set a password during your installation phase, and you need to set that password and you need to remember the same. Okay, so only that one is required. It will not ask you for any license or any other things. Since it is completely open source, it is not required. Okay, so this is the one way of getting installed with MySQL. Or okay, so MySQL Server, MySQL Workbench. If you want, you can note these versions. So whatever that I use, you can use the same. And if required, I can add. Okay, this page you will get once when you start installing this MySQL, you will get only the screen. In this screen, you need to go to MySQL servers and MySQL server. And what do you prefer? Which SQL server do you prefer? Similarly, go for applications, and in this applications, go for MySQL Workbench. Go for MySQL Workbench 8.0 and click add. I mean, which version shall we go with? 8.0.21. Add. Okay, since it is already installed, I will not be getting this. If required, I shall show you. Okay, then you need to add. Once if you click next add, since it is already installed on my machine, I'm not getting this. So if you try it, go for applications. In this applications, go for MySQL Workbench. In this, go for MySQL Workbench 8.0. And what does that required? You can go with this. I have selected this one for my installation. So 8.0.21. Just click that. You will be getting here. Then click next. Okay. So that's all. Once we are done with this, it will be get installed, and you will get installation completed. So it is one way of downloading MySQL. I will tell you one more thing also. Like also you can talk about SQL plus. Okay. So you can also try with SQL plus Oracle database. Okay. And here you can download Windows. And this is also again entirely an open source. Okay. So which is also again entirely an open source, which does not require any kind of license copy, or it will not ask you to anything to pay for confirm. Okay. And here you can go with this basic package, install client basic Windows, or you can go with this SQL plus package. Okay. So so I just suggest, or I prefer to go only with MySQL. Okay, I prefer only to go with MySQL and don't move for other thing. I prefer you to go with MySQL, since whatever the programs, whatever the queries that we do on the MySQL, you also going to do the same thing, right? So whatever that I'm showing as examples, you're going to work on the same thing. So it is better to go with this MySQL on Windows. Fine. Okay. Now we shall have a small example. So parallelly, in the meantime, if you start installing this MySQL on your systems, then that will be fine. That will be a good one to proceed further. Once getting installed, installation is done, I can go to click. Here MySQL 8.0 command line client, MySQL 8.0 command line client. My system is little bit slow. We'll get the same. Okay, good. Okay. Now it is asking me to enter password. So this password should be the one which you have set during the installation. Okay. You should use the same password that which you have used for installation. Now I will be using the password which I have used for installation. Okay. Okay. So once if it is successful, you can see welcome to MySQL. Okay. You can say welcome to MySQL. And if you need any if you need any help on this information, here itself you can say in help or slash h is available. Okay. Now let me tell you this. Like before creating or before having a database, I can't go and create a table directly. I should create a database first, right? If I create a table without database, let's see, create table, let the table name be AP. Okay. So the error that I'm getting is no database selected. So we should ensure that the database is first selected, then we can do it, create a table. So when you start working with a database, either you can go with that you can create a database, or you can go with the existing databases. And how to know the existing databases? Okay, that is the next thing. So we should use the keyword show databases. Okay, this will display the existing databases. Okay, so this will display the existing databases, employment information schema, MySQL, all these things. Now, if I create a database, that database will be get updated. For example, create this create as a keyword. This can be capital or small. Create a database. I write it as CSEA. Okay. Okay. So query okay. One row affected. And now I want to see my database. I should see that the database that I have created should be there inside. Okay. Now it is there at CSE. Yeah. So this is the one that I have created. This is the one CSE I have created. Now I can see it in my database. Fine. So yeah, this is how we're creating a database. Once I have done with the database, I can get my database on the screen. Okay. Now I've created the database. Now I need to create a table. Mm, First, let me create a table with two columns. Create table. What shall be the table name? Shall let us have the table name as so I've given the database name as CSC1. Let me take the table name as CS001. So create table CS001. Then open parenthesis. That means the parenthesis that you use to define a function. Okay. So open parenthesis. Now I need to specify, right? Now I need to specify what kind of value or what kind of what is going to be my column name, what is going to be my field. So my field, first my field is a name, and the data type for this name is varchar, and since it is variable character, I need to specify the maximum size. We just specify the maximum size, let it be 25, and age, so age is going to be of type integer, let it be of 10. Okay. The error is no database selected. I should make sure that what database that I'm going to work. So I use keyword CS. Sorry, you should use the keyword use USE, and you should tell the database name. So use a database will work with the particular database. So use CSEA. Now you can see a database changed, right? The font size is little bit small. I can't able to increase it. Okay, so now you can see our database changed. So database is changed to CSEA. Now I will be working with the database CSEA. Now let me create a table. Create table. I will go with same thing. Create table varchar 25 age. It should be of type integer and rather it as 10. Sorry, it should be number. Create table name varchar 25 age number, let it be 10. Okay, so first I should know the databases available. So I should use show databases. Okay, here I can see a list of databases. Among those databases, what database that we are going to work. So use keyword CSC, that database I'm using. Okay. Now you should got database changed. Now I will start create table next to that table name. I missed it. Okay. Create table name. I'm making it as CS02. And here, once if you start creating a table, you should specify the column, right? You should specify the column. The first column is name, and that is going to be varchar, I mean variable character, and let me pass it as 25. And second column, let it be age. Age is of type integer. Close semicolon, enter. Now I should get 0 rows affected. I mean, a table was created with a field with a column name, but no row is created, no record is inserted. 0 rows affected means 0 record. There is no record in my table. Now I need to insert a value into my table. For this, you should use the command insert into table name. Okay, insert into table name. Table name is CS02, and then you should write values in bracket. Okay, insert into table name values. First is name, so I will be writing it as mm, Kishore. Okay, comma, age. Let it be 20. Okay, now you can see earlier it is zero row affected, and now you can see one row affected. It means earlier you have created a database, you created a table, but no values are inserted. But now I've inserted one value, so I'm getting one row affected. Okay, now let me do one more thing. I will insert one more value, insert into CS02 values. When letters of type with character, you should place in quotes, else it is a number in single quotes. Hari. Okay. Age 21. Right. Now it is one row affected. Now, as I said, you like we should use select command to select the data from a database. So select star from star represents all. Okay, when you use star, select a star from, it tells you that you need to come extract complete information. Select a star from ZS02. Okay, so can you see the database with a table with two columns? One is name, one is age. Okay, so we have created. Let me make it in. Let me tell you in detail. Okay, so can you see a database? Here a database. It is a database. I mean, it is a table. A table name is CS02. CS02 is the table name, and you can see two columns. One is column one is name, column two is EH. Okay, so column one is name, column two is EH, and I have created two information. I have inserted two values like Kishore and Hari. Okay, similarly, you can keep on inserting more values or so many that you require to update in your database. Okay, so this is a simple sample query example program for today's class. Okay, and let me tell you what are the things that you have done and what is now you want to do. Okay, first we have discussed about something what is called database, and next to that we have talked about type of data. I mean structure of data. Type of data, it is structured and unstructured. Structured data is the one that we use with SQL. Since I can't insert an character for that field age, I can't insert integer for field name. If it is unstructured data, it is purely like we don't know what kind of data that I'm going to get for my value. As I said, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, all the data that we get from those are unstructured data. And the better example is, as of now, it's a trending. We are talking about big data analytics. We are talking about data science, machine learning, right? So if you take Amazon, Amazon gives you some set of data. The data can be of any form. By using those data, by tracking the browsing history, By tracking the browsing history of the user, Amazon works with a personal recommendation system. So by tracking with the history, it knows that what kind of item or what kind of thing that you are looking for. Like, so it will recommend you what the thing that you have browsed, that is called a personal recommendation system. Okay. And to make a data or to generate or to translate a data into a business or a value into a business, and we use our data analytics, all those things. Okay, how can we convert, or how can you make a data into a value or a data into a business? So where we talk about all these kind of things. So when we talk about these things, example for this unstructured database software are NoSQL, Cassandra, MongoDB, Hadoop, MapReduce. All these things works on this unstructured data. Okay, so that you will be learning in your higher semesters, not right now. And in this database, we will talk only about this SQL queries, and we talk only related to the structured database. Okay, and database or types of data. Next to types of data, the next thing we have discussed is a brief overview on SQL. In SQL, we have three things. One is DML, and here I have given you just an introduction overview to DML, DCL, and DDL. Okay, don't think that only this is what we will be learning from DDL, DML, DCL. Since it is your first class, I have just given you a brief idea. That's all. It is just an introduction. It is an entry. Okay, just we have entered into the query language. So don't think that this is all only we do with DDL, DML, or DCL. It is there. It is like ocean. Now we are just entry. We have made an entry to it. So I've briefed about you this things. Okay. And next to that, DML, DCL, we talked about one most important thing called SQL keywords. So SQL keywords are not case sensitive. In the mean, you can see in most of the examples, if you browse like SQL tutorials, okay, or textbooks, you can see most of the things will be written only in capitalized letters. Select a star, select a star from, or create a database or create table. All those things will be written or will be used or will be shown with the capital letters, uppercase letters. Okay. So by thinking that, don't think that we should use only uppercase letters. You can also go with uppercase or you can also go with lowercase letter. Okay. So it works for those both case, uppercase letter or lowercase letter. Okay. So keywords are not case sensitive. Next to the one are the BMS, Relational Database Management System, where you call something as like table. And there are few more things to know when you talk about a table that I will tell you in the next class. I don't want to make you to know all the things at a single session. As of today, whatever the things that we have discussed now, it's fine. And the remaining things about a table and all those things, how a relation is being formed in a table, how are we able to retrieve those relations, all those things we shall talk in the next lab session. Okay, so keywords and RDBMS, and at last we stopped with the type of data in MySQL. So MySQL, and whenever I talk about MySQL, what is the next thing that I'm going to do is first I should create a database. First, I should create a database or I should make use of existing databases. Okay. To make use of existing database, I should use a keyword called use. And to create a database, I should use a keyword called create. And to see how many databases or to have information about existing databases, I should use the command show. Okay. So this will help me to see the databases available. Okay. First, before creating a table, I should make sure that database exists. I should create a database, or I should use the existing database, or it is preferred always to go with your own database, or you can create one database so that whatever the table that you create, whatever the queries that you do, all those things shall be done in a same database. And for this week, you created a database called the CSEA. And for the next week also, you can use the same database. But don't go for creating a database like whenever you start querying with SQL. Don't go for creating a database each and every time. Okay. So try to go with a single database, create a database, and try to interact with the same database and work with the same database. Okay. So first I need to create a database, or I need to use the database. I need to tell to the system what database I'm going to use. Next to that, show databases. Okay. And next I can go for create table followed by a table name. Once I created a table, while creating a table, please ensure that you should specify the column, you should specify the field name, should specify this type. Okay. So when a table is created, when the column is specified, then you need to talk about a record. Record means row. To do that, insert into table name, insert into table name values in bracket. You should pass the values in parenthesis. Okay. So once it is done, to view the table, to view my database, I should use select star from table name. Star is nothing but which tells you, which will get you the complete information, the entire thing about the database. So select star from table name. So this is what the overview of the things that we have talked today, and the concepts that we have discussed today. And now what is your task is just stay connected, don't log off. Uh, Now start start installing MySQL on your machine. Install MySQL and create a simple database. Create a simple table. Okay. And just see to it, like, are you able to create a database or create a table with two to three fields, with two to three columns. Okay. So in detail about creating a table, accessing it, we shall be talking in the next class. So today is this is an overview, or this is an overview or a brief introduction to SQL and all these kind of things. Okay. So now your task is to create a table, and let me know if you have any queries, or if you have any errors, or if you have any issues with these things. Okay.